Good afternoon. I used my boss card when Stuart said that he was speaking today, because it was a perfect excuse for me to come home to Wales and spend a lovely couple of days in Pembrokeshire, so thank you very much for the invitation. So I'm Claire Gibson, I'm the Managing Director of Wave Hub Limited. For those of you who don't know Wave Hub, we're an operating company of the world's largest and most technologically advanced site for testing large-scale wave energy arrays. The site was installed in 2010. It's based off lovely west coast of Cornwall, another lovely part of the UK to be working in. And we are currently owned by the UK government. So the shareholder of my company is the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills. That's just a little schematic that we use to illustrate Wave Hub, which is a very simple onshore substation, a large 25-kilometre subsea cable with a very simple hub at the end that accesses an 8-square-kilometre site, and it's there for testing technologies and then exporting that electricity, about 48 megawatts, into the grid. We are trying to look to grow the business. We've looked at our core strengths, which are to design, procure, commission and operate test sites. So when Crown Estate invited bids for the demonstration zones, we talked to a number of key local stakeholders, including our friends here in Pembrokeshire, and we responded positively to the Crown Estate's invitation, and were very successful in getting 3 demonstration zones. So we have a wave test zone in North Cornwall alongside our Wave Hub test site. The little pink blob you might be able to see is the North Devon tidal demonstration zone, and more importantly today, the Pembrokeshire wave zone that you can see on the map. So the actual Pembrokeshire zone, for those who don't know, as I've said, it's a wave energy site. It's between 13 and 21 kilometres offshore. It's a very large area. I think I said our Wave Hub site is 8 square kilometres. This is a 90 square kilometre area of seabed, so lots of space for us to play in. It's about 50 metres water depth, and a pretty good wave resource. It's slightly comparable really to our Wave Hub site, which we've had a number of technology companies responding positively to be able to demonstrate their technology in good conditions, but nothing too harsh at this stage of their development pathway. There's very good access locally in terms of the grid capacity in Pembrokeshire, and we are obviously very close to excellent port facilities and local support services, as we've been hearing. Well, our focus has really been on customer engagement. We have got a very good network of existing wave developers from our work in Cornwall. So we've been engaging with all of those companies. We've been at trade shows, we've had face-to-face meetings, and we've been getting feedback from local partners in the area, and importantly put out a customer questionnaire. What was key to us was to accept that the Crown Estate had obviously done a lot of their own homework in identifying the zone in the first place, but we ourselves needed to understand what the market demand was. There was no point in pursuing the development of this zone if actually you in the industry weren't interested and able to support its development. So we've had some excellent feedback, particularly from developers, both project developers, technology developers, and their investors, and confirmation, I suppose, that the site is suitable for a large majority of wave technology companies that are engaged in the UK at the moment. Particular interest as well from some really credible companies, which gives me an awful lot of confidence that it is well worth us embarking on this journey. They are all looking to demonstrate full-scale arrays. As you've heard, you can develop up to a 30-megawatt array in a demonstration zone. They're all looking to deploy within the next 5 years, so the time frame works very well. And they're all interested in working with the local supply chain and developing those local support services. So they're ticking all of the boxes that Wave Hub Limited was set up to support in Cornwall and now want to do here in Pembrokeshire. In terms of the types of devices, they're really broad range, from some on average of about 1 megawatt in size to even a 9 megawatt scale device. And if you add up all of the interest that we've had from those technology companies and the size of the arrays that they're looking to deploy, you know, there is a significant amount of demand for a site like Pembrokeshire, and we now need to try and turn that into something more tangible and a tangible project within which we can take that forward. They've also given us some really valuable experience or feedback on what the additional value is that they want from a demonstration zone, a number of which is the reason why the Crown Estate set the demonstration zones up in the first place. So they look at our site and they say that they really would find it incredibly valuable if we had detailed seabed and environmental survey data. So a dialogue now with our colleagues in the fantastic university capability that we have locally is going to be one of my priorities in the coming months. They want to understand better what the wave resource is and even the tidal current measurements, so working again with our university partners about what we can do around that. They see the added value of us actually going to the stage of having a consented site, and they want to be able to export quite large amounts of electricity into the grid. They've also, not surprisingly, said that they would like us to have provided the cable infrastructure. That's, as I say, what we have in Cornwall, and that's probably one of the big issues for us to be taking forward, because that is quite expensive. The cable that we have in Cornwall was £8 million for the 25 kilometres, so that in itself is quite a sizable cost. When you add on the onshore infrastructure as well, we need to work now to understand how we can deliver that. Locally, they want very easy access to installation facilities, and they've suggested the approximate location to a good port of about 10 kilometres, which isn't that much further, really, when we look at where Pembroke Port is in relation to our site. In terms of the commercial terms that the developers have said they would like, they want to be able to secure an option, so an agreement for lease, fairly early on in the process. That gives themselves a lot of ability to then go out to the market and leverage in finance to support the technology development. So they would like to be able to have that option up to about 4 years before they're actually ready to deploy. They would obviously like the testing to be free. I'm not sure we'll be able to deliver that and deliver the cables, but some form of discounted testing would be a preference. They want to be able to build out from a single device to a large array, and that in itself, I think, is something that can easily be accommodated within a demonstration zone. They obviously want attractive terms in terms of power purchase agreements. We've just actually gone out to the market to get a PPA provider, have been really pleased with the response from some very good companies who actually want to be associated more with this sector, so hopefully we'll be able to do the same here. And they want to be able to enable demonstration projects that can evolve over time into a commercial array. That's probably something we need to be able to explore a little further with the Crown Estate. So just to finish then on what does all that mean in terms of our priorities over the next year. Well, the next steps, as for me, when I look at how we've done this previously in Cornwall, is we've got to really get to grips now with the feasibility, the kind of engineering options, the grid availability that we have, you know, where we can connect onshore, what the seabed and environmental surveys are that exist, and what funding we can get to do some more work on that. Look at some of the technical specifications that we need to put in place, and probably look to now start the consenting process. So it was good to hear about the advice that I can get that Dave was pointing me towards on EIA screening and scoping, and hopefully Kate and I can talk a bit more about that later. So as well as the feasibility study, we also need to look at the business case for taking this forward. So I'm keen to understand what the actual delivery vehicle might be. I'm not sure we have the opportunity anymore for the public sector to pay for all of this, as we did when we embarked on the Wave Hub project. So we probably need to look to see how we can partner more with private companies, maybe even the technology developers themselves. We need to understand how we can finance that and where the funding sources are going to come from. Obviously, we're lucky to have a sizable European programme here in Pembrokeshire, but we probably need to look for other sources. And importantly, we've got to understand what will that all mean locally. So what's the economic impact of this activity? And then the last important thing is for us to continue to engage with stakeholders. We've talked a lot to developers, but I know there's an awful lot of other people we need to be engaging with. So we will now step that up. So hopefully you'll see a little bit more of me and my colleagues, particularly Stuart, in the coming months on that. And I should just finally say thank you ever so much to the partners that you see at the bottom, because without Marine Energy Pembrokeshire, without Pembroke Port and without Pembrokeshire County Council, we would not have actually bid to the Crown Estate for this zone, and we wouldn't be in a good position to try and take this forward. So it's my opportunity to say thank you to them. Thanks.